Hello, and welcome to our College Sport Communicators webinar, where we will help students best understand the tools needed to stand out in the sports communications field. We'll share how to strengthen your resume, navigate the job search, and best position yourself for success as you begin a career in college athletics. My name is Anthony Martini, and I am the Assistant Media Relations and Digital Strategy Officer at the New Jersey Institute of Technology, and I am excited to serve as today's moderator. The webinar is presented by the CSC U Committee, which is responsible for educating college students in the field of sports communications. I am joined by a group of wonderful college sport communicators who are ready to share their experience and stories and advice with you all. To start us off, I'd like to have each panelist introduce themselves and briefly share their background of how they got into their current role. Mallory, we'll start with you.
All right. Hello, everybody. My name is Mallory Agner. I'm the Assistant Director of Athletic Communications at Manhattanville University. I just graduated from James Madison in May, and while I was at JMU, I worked pretty closely with our athletic communications field and team, and that's kind of where I laid my foundation of sports communications.
Thanks, Mallory. Frank, how about you?
Frank Mercogliano. This is my 34th year in communications at the collegiate level. The last 28 have been in the Division I level. I did get my start NAIA and Division II, which was a great place to start. I got this job at UNM because I was at Idaho State for 12 years. And after being the nail in the sports relationship for many years, I just wanted to be the hammer one time and be able to just beat some people. And I got tired of writing about losing. So I came here and it's been pretty good ever since. I'm originally from New York, but all my teams are the Miami team. So it's been a good run for me hockey-wise, which is great. Back-to-back Stanley Cups, because being a Dolphins fan is very sad right now. So there you go.
Thanks, Frank. Paige, you're up.
Thanks, Anthony. Paige Ward with the Southern Athletic Association. I got my start a little bit differently. I started off as an assistant women's basketball coach at the Division III level. During that role, I started making graphics, and they needed an assistant sports information director just to help in different realms of things, statting games. And I was like, why not? That sounds cool and fun, right? Little did I know everything that actually went into being a college sports communicator. RSID ended up leaving, so I took on that role. And then I picked up another role at Berry College as the director of sports informations and promotions, which is in the Southern Athletic Association, which led me to my position today.
Awesome. Now that we know a little bit more about our group, let's jump right into today's discussion. So, a question for all of y'all. Let's talk about the foundation and building the right skills while you are still in college, whether you're an undergrad or a graduate student trying to break into the industry. So for all of you guys, what practical experiences should students seek during college to build relevant skills in sport communications?
I'll chime in first, if that's okay. Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I think Mallory's going to have a really good perspective on this as she helped out in her college athletics at JMU, which I think is great. So I think just volunteering or seeing if your sports information department has positions open, we're very low staffed a lot of the time. So they're going to be wanting help. So definitely just reaching out and just gaining any hands-on experience you can in any part of the communications department at your university.
100%. I was going to say that I got my start by just asking to volunteer. No strings attached, no pay, nothing. I just wanted to be at the game. And that grew into me becoming a paid student. I got, my feet wet everywhere I possibly could. The biggest advice that I got my freshman year that I really have taken with me and run with is don't be afraid to be told no. If you go into something and just say, hey, can I help? Can I see how you do this? The worst possible thing they can tell you is no, but the best possible thing is you find something that you're really good at and you grow with it and you learn from it.
I always tell new people the worst trait of a human being is passive aggressive. The second worst trait, but the worst for this job, is just being passive. just be the person that wants to get in there. When I look at folks, if they are, you don't have to be that passionate, but you just have to be willing to get in there. And yeah, hey, I'll do that. You need someone to run stats. I'll run it. I just want someone who wants to be there, because if you put them in a situation where they enjoy being there, they're going to be successful.
Yeah, and I could agree with that point, and kind of the transition with our next question. I'll target this to Mallory. How can the involvement in campus media, athletic departments, or volunteer roles translate into those career-ready skills, saying you did it recently at JMU?
Yeah. So I would say that every skill you pick up anywhere during undergrad, especially, is going to be relevant towards your career ready skills, whether it's in class, not being afraid to speak up and ask questions. That kind of comes directly, especially in this new role. With my boss, John, if I was afraid to ask questions, I would never have started to grow when I got here in August. But also the non-sports related activities that you do. When I was at JMU, I was the president of Morgan's Message, and having to learn those people skills and having to learn how to schedule these meetings and get these things ready. All of those skills kind of come directly into your career, and especially when you're first getting started. So really just getting involved at campus, whether it's with your communications office or whether it's just with a club or a sorority, fraternity, all of those skills that you're building a foundation of is just that, a foundation to help you when you get to the field.
And this is, oh, sorry, do y'all have anything to add? I'm sorry.
What I was going to say, that I like that, Mallory, and to me, as the resident old guy here, let's just say it, it's okay. But as someone who's had to hire and do these kinds of things, when we understand, like as a student, as a GA, you're not going to have every skill that's there. But I need to know that you could be put in a situation where you haven't done something, but you're prepared to do it. So if you're a student, if you're GA and you're like, I don't know much about photography, but I'm going to learn everything I can about photography. And then I interview you and I'm going to say, there's going to be a lot of a video component to this. What have you done with video? Now you can literally at least perfectly fine to say, I've not done video, but when I entered my last position, I didn't know about photography and I worked really hard to learn all the skills. And now I'm a very good photographer. And I'm going to bring that same mindset to learning about video. Now, in my mind, I know that's a person who has been able to find something that they're not good at and excel in it and work at it. And all I care about is that you're going to work at it. So you want to try and do a lot of those things to prepare yourself, even if it's not in the job description of the next place.
All right. And I know Frank went into this kind of to go into the next question. Y'all kind of talked about it, other than the hard skills like Photoshop, Microsoft knowledge, etc. Maybe Paige can go a little bit more into this. What is the most important skill for someone to have looking for a role within sport communications?
So it's changed a lot, and it's changed a lot just in the last 10 years. And it used to be you could hire someone who, I'm really good at notes and I'm going to sit there and I'm going to type and I'm just going to do that stuff. And it's changed so much from what that is. And you have to be able to go and really be sociable. And like it's social media, social media, but social media is social. And you have, and I got news for you. All of it's social media. If you're doing notes, this is kind of social media, and everything you're doing in this position is social media. Because we're the conduit between students and coaches, and then the externals and all the people outside of our building. If you can't portray that and you can't communicate effectively with people, then you're just not going to be able to move forward. You might be able to get a job where it's more librarianish, to for lack of a better word, where you're going to be the note keeper and the record keeper and that kind of stuff. But if you're going to be out and talk to people and talk to media and get students to be engaged in the things you want them to be engaged in for promoting your program, to me, that's like, I don't know if it's a soft skill. I know we talked about hard skills, but it's like, it is a major skill to be able to be that kind of person.
I mean, it's in our title, College Sports Communicators. I think being a great communicator is one asset that is hard to find nowadays, whether it's communicating with your conference office, pushing out stuff on social media, as Frank mentioned, asking questions like Mallory said earlier. It's a big part of what we do. We communicate every day, whether it's through email, through social media, in person to media, to student athletes, and building those relationships is very, very important in this role.
And obviously, the communication part, learning how to work with people, super important. And this question can go, we could start with Mallory with this next question. How can students identify gaps in their skill set and proactively address them before graduation? And then what are some resources on campus or within the industry that can help them succeed?
The best way for you to understand what you're kind of maybe lacking in and what you might want to put some more focus in is to ask the people around you. It's looking at what people are doing and looking at what people around you have done and saying, "Oh, my skills with that are not as high as they probably could be." And asking the people around you, "How are ways that I can learn from you without like doing it for you?" And that was something that I got to do a lot at JMU, where if I'm not able to be the one statting the basketball game, we had a role that was spotting. So I got to sit right behind, help with subs, and listen and hear about how you input the game and you hear about how you call the game. And that was how I was able to confidently call a game as soon as I got here and we needed someone to step up. So really just taking advantage of the people around you. Everyone around you is going to have these different skill sets, and you just need to find the one person who's honest with you that says, "Let's get better at this," and then you'll get better at it together.
Yeah, so many. I mean, dad with three daughters, right? But so many times you have to, oh, you got to be soft and you got to be kind. Sometimes you have to be able to take the criticism and you have to be able to be open to, okay, I don't know how to do this. So many times people are like, I got it. I can't tell you how many times I have students like, I got it. I got it. I got it. Like, you don't have it and you just need to learn, and it's okay. There are things, I mean, I've been doing a long time. There are things I don't know, things that I do not know. And I have to be open to hearing it from other people on my staff who are either better or just know it better. We hired a guy, Connor, like he's so good with social media that a lot of times I'm just like, hey, how would you do this? And, that's, I'm the boss. I shouldn't be asking the little people, but you have to look at him as a colleague. You have to look at everyone around you as a colleague or someone you can learn from. So I think when you talk about like skill set gaps and things of that nature, a lot of it is self-imposed. If you want to learn it, you don't have to have that gap.
And now that you're a student, you've built these skill sets throughout your time as a student, and you've built those skills. Now you have to showcase them effectively in job applications, resumes. First question for Frank. What are the most common mistakes that you see on resumes from students or early career professionals?
Okay, so this is the absolute number one thing. You've got to know where you're applying. Like, I joke all the time. I think a lot of people know that I joke all the time because we have this hashtag UNMNSU, because people get New Mexico and New Mexico State mixed up all the time, which is understandable, but I get it. But if you're applying at New Mexico and you start talking about Liberty University, which has happened before, that I don't care how good you are, that's going in the pile. And it's not being mean. This is a job of details and detail oriented. And we work at a university. This is higher education. And if you're going to work at higher education, you got to sound educated. So I'm looking at typos. I see them all the time. I'm not going to, as an English major, I'm not going to like go too hard on you for bad English and stuff like that. So that's like the number one thing I see. The other thing I see that I don't like is like, especially if you're a student, you're coming in, you don't have this long, grandiose resume because as a professional, you're 2 years, 3 years. Just give me the facts of what you are, and then put the other stuff in your cover letter. But like, I don't need to know that you were like a great barista. I don't need that. Or hey, I was a lifeguard at Roaring Rapids in Boise, Idaho. Like, unless you're going to be the swim SID, that doesn't really matter to me. So just give me the facts and make sure those facts are presented properly and there's not a lot of embellishment.
And also, this could be for Paige. We'll start with Paige with this question. How can students highlight those transferable skills when they don't yet have the extensive professional experience or internships, as Frank was mentioning, being a lifeguard and being a barista? And for Paige also, how does that translate? How do those skills translate to a conference job?
I think one of the main things is a lot of stuff is popular right now, especially with social media. So, say you want to go into a social media field, but you've been a lifeguard, like Frank says. But have you been working to build that skill separately? Do you have a portfolio you can show, whether it's sports related or not? Show that you can actually do the work. I think that's something important as well. When it comes to translating it to the conference office, I think it's very important that you have all these skills, just because now you're over sports information directors, right? And you want to be able to just be able to talk to them on their level. You know how busy they can get. You know, work-life balance isn't great. Can you be able to understand their job to the full extent and still communicate with them properly? I think that's very important as you translate into the conference office. So I think building a portfolio is one, just as a hobby. Show me that you had a hobby and you're actually interested in doing something in this realm.
Yeah, the portfolio thing's awesome because it allows me two things, right? As you're hiring, it easy place to see how you do things and what your photos are and all this kind of stuff. But it just shows me that like you're go-getter. Like I'm preparing myself. This is what I can do. And so if you can sell me on you as a person by this portfolio, I now know you can sell my team and you can sell my athletes. So that's a great point. Go, Paige.
And having that portfolio, I know on your resume, like you could just click on it, like you could see it right away.
Yeah, it's great.
It's very easy for hiring managers to see, like, oh, this kid's qualified. Like this kid can do the job, even though he or she might only have 1 to 2 years of experience. And to transition into the next question, we'll go with Mallory first here. How should students balance showcasing the academic achievements with the practical experiences and leadership qualities?
So when you're preparing your resume, your portfolio, your LinkedIn, whatever you're using to get out to people and you want people to learn your name, it's all about the way you word things. It's all about the way that you explain your experiences, you explain what you were involved in. And academic achievements are fantastic, but talk about what was behind it. Don't just put it on your LinkedIn and say, oh, I was an honor roll for this semester. Talk about the work that you put in. Talk about what you did outside of just the title to get there and to get to that place and to really like show these transferable skills. Once again, that comes up again of, yeah, my leadership and my time management really helped me with this academic achievement, but the time management is the big part that's so transferable, especially in our field where we're working crazy hours and we're learning about what it takes to time manage between my women's lacrosse team whose schedule I'm getting ready to post. But I also have a women's basketball game last night and I had to make sure that we're managing time to make sure no one falls through the cracks.
Yeah, I love LinkedIn. As someone has to write bios for coaches I've never heard of and know, being able to click on the LinkedIn, like, oh, okay, here we go, and I can just do it really fast. So it's helpful. Like, anything you do to make it easier for the hiring person. Make it easier for them. Like, give them the reason to like not figure it out.
And beyond the GPA, internships, other clubs that a student could be a part of, we could start with Paige and then go with Frank, and Mallory wants to chime in on this as well. Beyond those GPAs and internships, what experiences or achievements stand out the most to hiring managers?
I think for me, it's showing what all you balanced throughout a certain period of time. So maybe being a student athlete on your resume, that highlights something to me. I know it's different for a lot of different people, but sometimes you were a full-time student and you had a full-time job. Certain things like that just can show you can balance multiple different things, because you might be in charge of 6, maybe even 22 different sports at a time, depending on what institution you're at.
Yeah, the time management aspect is probably the biggest thing for that, right? Because if you can do a whole bunch of those things and have a pretty good GPA, I mean, you can't be as dumb as a rock. Let's face it. If you have a, no, you're not putting at a 2.6 on a GPA, like you're probably not putting that on your thing, even though that's not terrible. But I need to know you have good grades, because that's going to help me. I want to know the things that you do, right? I want to know, because the more you do and that you're successful in a lot of pieces, I know that, well, this person's going to be able to handle all the ridiculousness that comes from a track meet where they're jumping over here, but they're running over there. And at the same time, I need you to handle tennis at the same, so you can do all those little things and you can show me that you can do all that. So I keep saying I agree with Paige, but I agree with Paige on that. Yeah.
A lot of the feedback that I got, because I am still new, so I haven't gotten to be the hiring manager yet. A lot of the feedback I got after interviews and after just making connections with people was it was about the odd ones out. It was about for me, I founded Morgan's Message at JMU. So that was something that I added to my plate that I didn't have to. And it's about just like putting yourself out there all across the campus.
And now that we have like the resume, and that you put in the job application, now let's talk about the job search and finding those right opportunities when you get out of college. So if you know you want to work in sports, let's start with Mallory, because I know I personally have been in this situation as well. And I would like Paige to add to this as well, since she is coming from the coaching background into the SID world. If you know you want to work in sports, but don't know which direction you want to go, how do you figure that out?
One of my favorite things to do across anything is informational interviews. If you haven't started doing them, do them. Don't be afraid to reach out to people on LinkedIn. I have sent so many messages that I have not heard back from. I've sent so many messages that I have heard back from. Ask someone to hop on a Zoom call, ask someone to meet in person if you can, and just ask them, what do you do? How did you get here? Tell me about you. And a lot of the times it's informal. You just get to know the person you're talking to. They'll tell you about the job they do. They'll tell you about the highs. Ask them about the lows and they'll tell you. But just put yourself out there. I love doing informational interviews. I still do them even though I'm, already in the field. And I've started to have people reach out to me, and it's been a huge full circle moment for me when I got that first message on LinkedIn. But it all just goes back to the worst thing someone will say is no, and you'll get to learn about this whole other world that you didn't even know about just by sending a simple hi, nice to meet you, let's chat.
I'm literally checking my LinkedIn messages right now to make sure I didn't ignore you. I didn't. You, I didn't. We're good. We're good.
Mallory made some great points. I believe one of the most underrated positions in college athletics is a graduate assistant position, just because you can really get a grasp of so many different things and kind of find where you want to go. For me, I think I started off as a women's basketball coach because I'm a former women's basketball player, and being surrounded by the student athletes was great. But once I really started to dabble in making graphics for our Instagram, the women's basketball page, which actually now that I look at them are terrible. But you know how it is when you first start out with Photoshop. But then kind of just being able to build that and see how that progresses really interested me. And honestly, the community just around college sports communicators really drove me to just fully immerse myself in this group. I had some great mentors that helped me out along the way. You know, as a basketball coach, you can't really reach out and be like, "Hey coach, how can I make this play better?" Because, you know, it's very competitive. In the college sports realm, everybody really is rooting for you. They want to help each other out, which really just brought me into what I feel like is my people now.
And we talked about LinkedIn and informational interviews and just sending out those messages. I know that's something I did in undergrad as well. We'll start with Frank and then go with Paige as well with this question. What role does LinkedIn or personal branding play in today's job search process?
Again, for me, I need to know, like, if you can't sell yourself, how are you selling a team? How are you selling a kid? How are you doing that stuff? So whether it's LinkedIn, whether it's personal branding, whether it's just you're in the interview, like when you're in an interview, your part of you has to be like, I'm getting interviewed by them, but they're also having an interview with me, kind of thing. It really is a back and forth. So I want to see how you react to some of that stuff. But again, that's where I go back. I mean, the portfolio thing, that's your own personal brand. And I don't mean like you go to my Twitter, I have my own little FM logo that ChatGPT helped me with, right? But that's fine. But that's not what I'm looking at for a personal brand. I need to know what you are. I need to know that, like, again, we have a guy, Connor Gilbert on our staff, who at our home games does our football social. And he did it for one game on the road. And then we have a different person do it for road games. But I could tell when Connor's doing it. And I could tell when he does it for some of the other sports because it's got that Connor feel to it. And this is probably more, it's more noticeable if you're a graphic designer, because graphic designers tend to have their own little kind of signatures and hooks and things that you look at and you go, oh yeah, there's a star in the corner or there's something like that, right? They have that. And it's a little harder to do it for us. So I need to know what your personal brand is. And I'm going to tell you the biggest personal brand you have, it's going to be your socials. It's going to be what you have on Instagram, and it's going to be what you have on Twitter, because that's going to let me know. If people follow me on social media, they know I'm going to have a lot of food posts because I cook. They know I'm going to have a lot of scoring posts because that's kind of who I am these days. And I'm going to have a lot of positive energy posts about my school and my kids and my wife. Like, that's what I got. That's what I need to know. If your social media post is all about like politics and this and you're cursing and you got rap music that's got bad words, like that's telling me quite a bit that I need to know. So when you're talking about the personal branding, it's everything. It's not just the professional LinkedIn and things like that. It is what you have on Twitter, what you say on Twitter, what you do on your Instagram. And yeah, I want to know who you're following. I'm going to check who you're following. And if you're following a bunch of people that people get in trouble these days for following, I'm probably not taking you, right? I want to know what you're doing because that's a reflection of who you are without telling me exactly who you are. That was really long. Sorry.
You're right, though, Frank. Social media plays such an important role, especially when trying to hire somebody. They're going to check those things. LinkedIn is a great way to promote yourself and what you've been doing, that portfolio that you've been building, the little wins you've gotten along the way. I also think it's very important if you're blessed enough to be able to go to some kind of convention, whether it's the NCAA convention, CSC Unite, whenever you go, whether it's as a student, first, second year on the job, it's very important that you build those connections in person. When you're going to these sessions, sit down at a table with people you've never met before. I did that my first year. Now I have many friends from all over the United States. You build those little connections and then it's fun. Oh, now you're playing them this year and you had no idea. You guys get to reconnect. Little things like that. So I just think walking around, promoting yourself just as who you are. We talked about who you are as a person and your brand. So making sure that that impacts people when you meet them and not so much talking business at first. You want to build that relationship and kind of get on the same level with them. So just making sure that you're going out saying, hey, and just being social.
Yeah, Paige just said a great thing that made me think about something I was told as a student. Make those connections first and expect nothing from them. That was something that I just kind of really lived off of. And one of my mentors, Megan at JMU, she kind of told me that when she was a student, she would walk up and introduce herself to every SID that was visiting. And that was something that I took with me because you never know when you're going to see someone that you met once in a JMU softball press box. You never know when you're going to see them again. And you want to have that positive impression and always think of yourself as a brand and you're always representing your brand. And so whether you're out with friends, whether you're working, whether you're in class and you're on your phone and not paying attention, like all of those types of things impact your brand and impact how people see you. So building those connections, and that's how I found myself in this webinar was I built a connection with Ashley at UMass Lowell and I continued the connection. I still expect nothing from it. I think that she's great to talk to and a great connection to have, but it's also just like I said, reaching out, saying hi, saying, oh, we crossed paths here. Let's cross paths again, and not being afraid of being told no or not getting a response.
Yeah, Mallory, I still do it. Because I'm not the basketball SID, especially when we're playing non-conference and we have other teams. Like I don't, who's the SID at Oakland? I don't know, but I will go and introduce myself and say, hey, I'm Frank. How are you? How's a trip? Da, da, da. Just talk to them or whoever it is, because I want to know. I want to meet people. Like I said, I've been doing this 34 years. I still want to meet people because you never know where the paths weave and cross. You just don't.
Yeah, I want to add one small little story and I'll keep it super brief. But this past spring, I got to work the Final Four for the men's and talk about connections anywhere. I was at dinner with the rest of my student peers and our two faculty members who are our mentors on that trip. And from across the burger place we were at, we saw an SID for a school that was an example in one of our classes. And I went up to him at dinner and he was with his friends, he had drinks, and I went, this is so weird, but let's connect. And I emailed him, made a connection with him. And it's just, you have to just get over yourself sometimes, is the best way of putting it. And know that you are either going to see them again and they're going to remember you, or you're never going to see them again. So who cares what they think about you coming up to them at dinner?
That's a
I had dinner with the vice president of Major League Baseball. I went to a thing and I ended up at a table with him. And then I just kept texting my wife. I'm like, I'm with the vice president of Major League Baseball. Yeah, you have to do those things. When no one mentioned it, and then but that story reminded me. The Final Four is an unbelievable place, but for a student, probably can't get to the Final Four. But conference tournament, any other tournament where it's at a school that's not terribly, I mean, you guys are all East Coast, but like in the East Coast, there's, if you're working in North Carolina, there's like 9,000 schools in North Carolina. In Pennsylvania, there's, Allentown, Muhlenberg, there's all these. Go 20 miles and help at that tournament. Even if it's it's only a Division III tournament. Well, I mean, I was in the NAIA and now I'm in Division I. People move around. So yeah, the Final Four thing reminded me of that. Volunteer at a conference tournament because there's going to be 10 schools and you make those connections. I hire people because of connections. Like if I hire someone and I see where they're at and I'm like, oh, that's Angela's school. I know Angela. Let me call her. I will do that in a heartbeat because I trust more than anything else the people I trust. So if someone I trust says, yeah, that person's good and they do this, that's what I need to hear.
I know with backdoor references being very common in this industry, like people just call, how's this person? applying for a
Mhm.
job. I've seen it happen, and I'm pretty young in the industry. I've seen it happen too many times. And I want to make sure I get this question in before we go to the next topic. Um, we'll start with Frank for the first part of the question, and then Mallory for the second part. What are your requirements for an employer, and what standards should you be looking for? Or actually, this question is going to be for Mallory. Sorry. What are your requirements for an employer, and what standards should I be looking for when I am job searching as a student? And then what do you look for in a school or professional team when you are interviewing with them?
So when I was looking for jobs and looking on CSC and NCAA jobs and everywhere I could look, I had the mentality of I'm going to apply everywhere. And I applied to almost every position I saw, reached out to them. And when I was looking at possible employers and possible campuses and schools, I was really paying attention on how the initial 5 minutes went. I wanted to know how quick they were to let someone else on the interview speak and how quick they were to ask me questions and want to know more than just okay, you can do A, B, and C. Cool, moving on. And kind of just building that connection. And I think that it was Frank that said this earlier, but yeah, I was the one who was being interviewed for this job, but also everything that they said, it was like I was interviewing them for a possible work environment. And kind of just knowing that you don't have to just say yes because it's right in front of you was another thing that I had that really helped me find the right position. And I would like to think I'm in a great position here at Manhattanville. Was just because you have an offer doesn't mean that you have to jump on it immediately and be like, yes, this is where I'm going. Really, like, think about yourself first. Think about if that's the right environment for you. For me, I was okay moving up to New York with my whole family being in Virginia. That was something I was okay with. That might not be something that you're okay with. And really, like, don't put yourself aside just because you're looking for a job. Like, make sure that you're thinking about yourself and you're taking what you need into consideration. And if you liked them in the interview and you think it's a great thing, ask questions after the interview. It's a two-way street with this communication, and just making sure that you stay true to yourself is really important when you're looking for that first job or even that second job.
I always wonder when I interview someone and they have no questions for us. I'm like,
Always
how
have
is that?
questions. I
How is
always
it
try to have
possible?
2 or 3 questions. That's the funny
Yes.
part.
Ask me something. There's got to be some question. If you have no questions, to me, you didn't do your homework.
I could totally agree with Frank there. Even when Frank mentioned earlier, if you're at a Division 1 school, be open to break into a D2, D3, NAIA. You're going to learn so much being in that kind of environment. If you can't get to that D1 spot, because it is super competitive, as everyone on this panel knows. And now we'll transition in a competitive industry, as I mentioned, preparation, standing out in these job interviews on your resume, that matters the most. So we'll go with Frank and then Paige on this question. What qualities or skills make a candidate memorable in the competitive applicant pool?
So it used to be when this all started. This is for the young people. We used to do things as a phone interview, and it was an actual telephone with a cord, right? That's how we did our phone. That's how we did it, the pre-interviews. Now it's like this. It's on Zoom. So I see you, right? So if I see you're constantly doing this and moving over and on the phone, and if you're like on a Zoom interview, if I see you in a tie, I'm like, all right, they're taking this seriously. If I see, business suit, whatever, if I see you no offense, if you got Anthony's polo on, I'm like, yeah, okay, yeah, all right, whatever. I want to see that. The other piece of it is show me you did some homework. Show me you paid attention and you tried to learn about my school. I might be like Mallory, I might have applied for 47 different schools, maybe. But show me that my school matters, because to me, I work here and this place matters. And I don't want to bring in someone who doesn't care about it. I do care about the school. None of us are in this for money, right? We're not in this for money. So show me that you kind of want to be here and you kind of want to do this for a little bit and that you're excited to be here. Give me that. Again, you're interviewing me, I'm interviewing you. Give me the energy. I don't want someone to come in here and be an energy vampire.
Frank, you crushed that. I don't know how to add to that, but I think professionalism is definitely on a decline. I've seen people walk into interviews in person in khaki shorts and flip flops. I've had
Oh,
I've had somebody
oh,
come in with a different school's lanyard hanging out of their pocket. And yeah, I was a Division 1 school and you're interviewing at a Division 3, but still at the same time, like Frank said, it doesn't make our institution feel important. I think professionalism is something that everybody needs to revamp, whether it's the professional dress, how you communicate with people, because that initial first impression is one that is going to last. Like, as Mallory said, that first 5 minutes, I can promise you your interviewer has already made that impression as well on whether or not you're going to move forward in that application process. So I can't harp on it enough. Professionalism and how you communicate with people is a big one for me.
And you mentioned that professionalism, like very important. Do your homework. Don't show up in flip-flops, as you mentioned. Don't show up. I mean, even showing up in a polo to me is a bad look, in my opinion. Like I was on a hiring committee this past summer, and two people showed up in polos. And guess who didn't get the job? The people who showed up in the polos. And the person who showed up in the suit, he's the one who got the job. So it just kind of shows that professionalism. And to go on to our next question, we'll start with Mallory, then go with Paige and Frank. I think this is a good question for everybody. Starting with Mallory, who or what in your career pushed you towards having a career in sport communications?
So I kind of knew I wanted to be an SID after the sophomore year of high school, where I kind of met with some family friends who were working in sports, and it kind of like ignited that flame of I can work in sports. That's really cool. My senior year of high school, Molly Metris at George Mason kind of took me under her wing and let me look at what it was to be an SID. And it was a lot of updating bios and updating records, but it really was fun. And I like had fun being in the office for that first time and getting to see the interviews and getting to see all these little behind the scenes aspects. And then being at JMU, like my mentor, Dom, he was working in the industry for a while before he came back to being full-time faculty. And then my kind of added mentors that I found along the way, like Megan, she was working and she was just like me. She was younger and kind of showed me what I would have to do in the next year to, yeah, I'm young in the office, but I know what I'm doing and I'm ready to learn if I don't know what I'm doing. And that's kind of the mentality I had to have and how much I've loved it, and seeing her grow and seeing everyone grow around me just kind of gives me that push of I can always be that much better and I can always make my environment that much better. And that kind of just pushed me to wanting to have this career in sports communications is it's never just about me. I really do my work for the athletes. I'm very athlete first. I always say that. I do it for them because if I don't do it for them, no one will. And I think that that is so important. And with my work with Morgan's Message and mental health with our athletes, like all of these little things have really just created my why statement and have found me where I am today. And I look forward to where I'm going to be tomorrow.
That was great, Mallory. I think for me, it was three things. One, it was my younger student athlete self. Two, it was formerly being a coach. And three, I've had two CSC Hall of Famers as mentors. One, John Painter, who just retired from Maryville College. He showed me that community that I spoke on earlier and how great it is. So for me, I mean, there was one point I didn't know baseball and softball stats when I first started, right? And our team went to a tournament where they had to keep paper stats because nobody's live statting it. So I'm like, okay, great. So they send me a picture of the book, and I'm like, how do I decipher this? John Painter's up with me at 2 a.m. on the phone telling me how to read this book. And, that just opened up something for me. I'm like, wow, that's amazing. Like that he would do that. So once again, that community brought me into this realm of my career. And then I think being a former coach and student athlete, the first two I mentioned, I knew what they wanted to see coming from a sports information department. And, sometimes you don't get that because it's so understaffed, but I wanted to make it my duty to fulfill that to the best of my potential. Like everybody wants to see their face on a graphic. We need to get some more stuff out. We want some nice hard hitting stories. I know kind of what they do and don't want to hear in their stories, whether they win really big or lose really big. So I kind of use that to my advantage as well. Like Mallory mentioned, we do it for the student athletes first and foremost. So
I would tell you, for as far as the career, I mean, I was born to do this. I was born to be in sports in some way, but I'm 5'9", so I'm not like Mr. Sport guy. Like I was good in sports, but I wasn't great in sports. I did have like a scholarship for college, but like it was a small one. It was big. To me, the biggest thing was I was at UNC Pembroke, which was Pembroke State at the time, and my boss, the SID there, is a single person. I was a student, so I was helping out. He took me with him to Jackson, Tennessee. He was the official statistician for the NAIA Women's Basketball Championships. Wasn't even Division I, Division II for NAIA. And so when I was there, there's a guy named Pat Madden who was he was the NAIA Director of Information. He was probably 4 years older than me, I think, maybe. To me, he was like this old man. I didn't know. And I had lunch with him and I just was chit-chatting with him, asking him questions. And he was pointing out, because all I knew was North Carolina basketball and Duke basketball and those things. And he was like, there's thousands of schools, man. Like, look at this tournament. This is NAIA basketball and this is amazing. And I was like, holy crap, you're right. And that talk made me realize that there's thousands of student athletes that would love to be treated like a Division I athlete on TV and all the accolades and everything. And it was like, I could do it. I could give those student athletes that experience because I have that skill set. I can do it. So that more than anything was like the realization that you don't have to be with Duke basketball. And you don't have to be with, I guess now it's Indiana football. You don't have to be with like with Notre Dame football. You can be at like a Maryville. I mean, John Painter was at a big school and like he loved that dude. I've known John forever. I saw, like you said that. I'm like, oh my God, Painter. I sat with him when he got his Hall of Fame thing. And like knowing he was giving student athletes at Maryville, and there's people who are on this call watching this thing who are like, I've never heard of Maryville, right? And they had John freaking Painter as their person doing the stuff. And it just shows like your school doesn't, none of that stuff matters. And so it's like, to me, that's what motivated me. Like I could do this at any school and get the same satisfaction because I do football and I do swimming and diving. We were unbelievable in football this year. We have won 2 of our last 42 swim meets against Division I schools. Like we're not great at swimming right now, but I get the same enjoyment out of doing the stuff for the swim team. I just posted photos of them for a practice that we took yesterday. And I'm getting text messages from them. Oh my God, thank you. This is great. My mom is going to love it. And they're posting on social media. And it's like, that's why you do it. And you don't have, that's the motivation. And like Pat Madden taught me that so many years ago before there was social media. So again, really long answer. I'll be quiet now.
Yeah. And doing it for the student athletes. That's the reason why a lot of us are in this business. And to kind of wrap things up with one more question, we'll go with Mallory, then Paige, then Frank. If you could give one piece of advice to a student or recent graduate looking to build a network in sport communication and break into the industry, what would it be and why?
Understand your own why before you start trying to figure out everyone else's. Understand why you are doing what you are doing, and it will carry you through the hard days. It will carry you even higher on those good days. But really just, I wish I could tell myself this from this time last year. Know you and know your why, and you will be just fine.
Yeah, do it for the right reasons. Be ready to get in the nitty-gritty, be ready to work, be ready to show your work ethic and work hard. That way you can elevate yourself just in a short few years at your beginning. Don't be afraid, like we've all mentioned here today, don't be afraid to ask questions, just to jump into anything you can really get your hands on to get started.
I would give the same advice that my fraternity president gave me when I pledged a fraternity, which is you're going to get out of this what you put into it. And if you half-ass it, you're going to have a half-ass time, and it's going to be it's going to be whatever. But if you put your heart and soul in this, you will get so much satisfaction and so much joy. And it's not a monetary thing. It's not a status thing. It's just there's such the SIDs are different people. We really are. And we get so much joy out of the little tiny things, whether it's a student athlete graduating. One of the great things in my life was a kid from who was from Afghanistan. And when 9/11 happened, that whole thing happened. His story about how he was appreciative of wearing the American flag on his jersey got on ESPN, and the pride it brought his family, life-changing. So that's my advice. You're going to get out of this what you put into it. So put everything into it.
Absolutely agree with all your perspectives. And I want to thank Mallory, Frank, Paige for joining us and sharing all your wonderful advice to students interested in this career field. We appreciate your continued support of college sport communicators. As a little bit of a recap, like communication, very important when we're looking for skills, people skills. You gotta know how to work with people. When we're talking about resumes and applications, show that you have that time management. What is behind some of those academic achievements, or if you're the president of a frat, or even behind some of your internships, like be able to tell that story in job interviews and sell yourself. And also, you're building your brand. Don't post stupid stuff on social, drinking every weekend. Like, don't do that stupid stuff. And do your homework for these interviews. Like, do your homework, do it for the right reasons, know your why. You do it for the right reasons, do it for the student athletes. So we encourage you all to visit collegesportcommunicators.com for updates on future webinars, membership news, and available resources as you continue on your journey. And we will have the CSC U Summit coming soon, hopefully in May, as we finalize a date for that. And thanks again for being with us today.